I direct your attention off of my films from 2024, now to my films of when I was 15. I'm currently 15. This film it's sprung from the idea of a group of friends going through a series of escape rooms, messing with each other all the way. It really only was one scene that made me think about this whole film. A series of 4 holes, 4 friends. What do they have to put in that hole? You know they're going to put in that hole. Horrible idea. But it's going to be a great execution of my horrible, idiotic friends, and me, who's the idiot to make this idea of a movie. So now it's starring Yadiel Sanchez, Ana Ramirez Mesa, Luis Garcia, John, and Chris Michael Vino Tremblay. All 5 of us will go through a series of rooms. It may spring off a legacy sequel further on, years later, but for now, it's just going to be this one. It will not age well at all. It will age horribly. People will say, why did you make that movie? And some other will say, that was a great movie. I love that comedy. Aged horribly, but great movie. So the thing is, I need to be 18 to make this film. Or at least my friends do. And you're going to know why soon. It's a horrible idea to make for a movie. Great movie, though. Without further ado, let the travesty begin. Friend group of the idiots arrive around the same time. First, Cruz and Yadiel. They arrive there at the exact same time. Minutes later, followed by John and Luis. Then even later than that, Ian arrives. Ian arrives as the latest one. He says that he just broke up with his girl. That's why he's late. The group enters the first room, where Yadiel notices that they have a 6th person in their party. Yadiel asks, Cruz, we never had a black guy in our friend group. It was just you 2 beaners, me, and this female dog. Cruz responds, well, I invited this guy so he can say the word, and you 2 better not overuse him. I can only afford 20 uses. Yadiel, Ian, Cruz, Luis, and John sit into their respective chairs in this first room, sitting around a table. The chairs they sit in lock them in, leaving their hands free to roam. The room announces, you 5 will proceed through a series of 10 rooms. In doing so, and completing, you will be paid handsomely for participating and completing the escape rooms. This first room is a question one. First question, who is the fattest? John, Ian, Cruz, and Luis side their votes. The majority side, Yadiel. Yadiel says, you female dogs. Second question, who is the tallest? Majority sides, Luis. Luis is the tallest. Question 3, who has the most game? Majority side, Ian, as Ian is the only one who ever had a girlfriend. Question 4, who is the gayest? Majority side, Cruz. Cruz says, come on, listen to what John always says, he's the gay one. He should be the gayest out of all of us. Question 5, who is the shortest? Everyone sides, Ian. Question 7, who is the most homophobic? Majority side, Cruz. Cruz says, come on, I was joking. I'm not really homophobic, I'm just messing around because it's you guys, you know? Question 8, who is the skinniest? Majority side, Ian. Question 9, who is the most innocent? Majority side, Luis. Final question, who is the whitest? Majority side, Cruz. Cruz says, well, yeah, but Ian has a whiter pigment than me. The room says, results indicate John is the least connected to the friend group out of all of you guys. He's either a duplicate of one of you, or not at all connected as much as you guys all are. John says, well, at least I got a bigger dick than all you guys. The chair injects John with a syringe, seemingly killing him. The speaker tells them to advance to the next room. Luis asks, is John dead? Cruz says, well, no, he's just out for the round. They enter the next room, where they are presented by 4 differently sized holes, with dividers between them, obviously. One is as large as a watermelon, one is the size of a pickle jar. One is 3 feet large, and the last is the size of a silver dollar. The speaker says they have to choose which limb to put into this hole. Each of them must choose the exact same limb to put in the hole, otherwise all holes will have the guillotines cut. And they must choose under their 5-minute mark. Once the announcement ends, Yadiel says, big dick, little dick, medium dick, micro dick. Cruz says, Yadiel, why would I be the smallest hole? Yadiel says, because you got the micro dick. They argue with each other over and over again, rather than choose their own holes. Cruz says, so on what limb? What limb are we doing? Yadiel says, tupito. Cruz says, Yadiel, you better not be joking because I don't want this cut off right now, alright? It's just a 25% chance. Let's hope I don't get it bad. Cruz agrees, and the time goes off. The guillotine falls and removes Cruz's dick. Cruz screams in agony, spraying blood across the wall. Luis gives Cruz the first aid kit that's on the wall, so he can heal up what he just cut off with some medical tape, medical bandages, to close the wound. As they proceed to the next room, they are met by a laser tag room. What they must do is they must win a game of laser tag against each other. And possibly stationary robots, as these stationary robots are mounted to tracks. They'll use electric packs, and all try not to lose their flags within the 10 minutes. Cruz and Louise team up as they are paired together for the first round, as well as they have then teamed up with 2 other robots. As Ian and Yadiel are paired up together as well, they have their own robot. The game starts. Cruz as well as Louise start gaining the lead in points, but they still have not gotten the flag. Halfway through the game, the colors change, as Cruz and Yadiel are now paired together. Cruz tries to find Yadiel, as Ian tries to search for Louise, or search for their flag. Cruz then finds Yadiel, with 2 minutes left to spare. Yadiel says, "Hey son, does this game have friendly fire?" Yadiel then proceeds to shoot Cruz 20 times, and then asks, "Does it?" Cruz, who fell to the floor being shot 20 times, says, "Yes. You think that I'm getting shocked each time for no reason?" They then start firing points on the robots until the game ends. The speaker says that it's a draw, as no one has taken the flag from the other team. They enter the next room, where they are met with educational assignments. The speaker says, "You 4 will all proceed to complete 1 of the 4 educational assignments. Each of you is designed to have 1 assignment for yourself. These assignments are designed specifically for you, and you cannot aid one another until you are done with your task. For Cruz, if you complete it correctly, you will lose your dominant hand. If Luis does not complete his correctly, he will consume a pound of table salt. If Yadil completes his incorrectly, he will be lobotomized. If Ian completes incorrectly, he will have his throat slit. You have 10 minutes to go." The friends start doing their work, and Cruz is struggling on his assignment of properly spelling octuple octopi eating phosphorus. Cruz stalls, hoping that the others would be able to finish with their assignments faster and possibly help him, but it seems they're not doing anything. There's only 2 minutes remaining, and Cruz can only choose to lose his hand in order to help the others, and so he does. Now he starts helping Luis with identifying the elements of table salt. Cruz tells him the compound is sodium chloride, so NaCl. They now go to Yadiel, where he must identify the man in this painting, who was a well-known historical figure. Cruz tells him it's Genghis Khan. They're now down to the last minute, where they must help Ian pronounce the word Fortnite in a proper sentence. Cruz tells him, "Do not say Fortnite, okay? You have to say it properly. So you could say, 'I haven't met you in a fortnight.'" Ian then repeats what Cruz said, and they proceed to the next room, where now Cruz wraps his hand prior to going into the next room to make sure that his hand's secure enough to look good, but it's still bleeding. Now they proceed to an even easier round, one that's at least easy enough for Cruz. They now must fight against a wave of 11 zombies. The group decides to knock them all out within one go. Cruz starts knocking most of them out, saying that he knocked 2 out already, killed them. But then, expecting the others would be knocked out as well, checks, and he sees none of those other ones are knocked out. What they are doing, though, are forging towards him. Yadiel, Ian, and Luis are just standing there watching them fight against him. Cruz asks for help, and after a bit of begging, Cruz decides to tell them. They help him defeat off the zombies, and once they're done, the last zombie, they find out it is John. But they see the syringe is still stuck in him. So Cruz shuffles his legs, changing John's attention before he crescents him in the side of the head, knocking him over, having him down long enough for him to take out the syringe, turning back to heal him. As they proceed to the next room, John asks what he missed. The friends agree that John hardly missed much, just shooting Cruz over and over again, as that would have been fun. In this next room, they are enthused to eat as much as they can, yet all the food there is just appetizers. The whole group stares directly at Yadiel. Yadiel, knowing what to do, makes the black guy call them the word. John, in response, makes the black guy call Yadiel the word. They shuffle until they have used this word 15 times. Cruz tells them, "Stop, we can't afford 100 times doing this, alright?" John and Yadiel simultaneously say, "We?" Cruz says, "Well, I can't afford it, alright?" The group now spend 20 of the 30 minutes they have in this room talking. Now once they're all full and good enough for the next room, the speaker tells them, "This whole room is a trick. Every bit of food is laced with chloroform." The fools wake up in a room. This room has 50 doors, 50 cabinets. Only one of these exits are the true exit to this room. There's a statue in the center of the room holding a door. They must find where the true door to the exit is. Yadiel instantaneously finds the exit, then decides to keep messing with them. Tell them, "Oh, it's not this door." John plays along, finding out exactly what door it is, as they both decide to troll the group. As they keep trolling, Ian, Cruz, and And Luis, right behind John and Yadiel, there seems to be a female vampire exiting one of the doors. It says, "Would you like a hint?" As she said that, she stood in a provocative way. Cruz knows this is a vampire, as he can tell by the attire, and by the tone of voice. Cruz then asks to the three of the friends, "Bet you three are hard, aren't you?" Yadiel stands still, raising his eyebrows, looking right at Cruz. Ian stands still, avoiding the question. John looks at Cruz and says, "Bro, I'm only hard because of you." Cruz does not get that joke, but he still laughs. A little scoff. Then Cruz says, "Yadiel, you better not say it." Yadiel starts saying, "The older the berry." Cruz says, "No." Yadiel ends his sentence, "The sweeter the juice." The one opens up the door to the next room as they all enter. They now enter the next room. It's an empty room with 5 doors. Each door is for one of them. Yadiel's room. He must overcome the challenge of finishing a woman. He must not do that. Cruz must overcome the challenge of an obstacle course, climbing, except he only has one hand, as he simply lost it earlier. John must overcome the challenge of getting 15 points. Should be easy for him as he's a basketball player. Luis must complete the game, FNF, specifically one mode on the hardest that it can be, hardest setting, hardest challenge. What Ian must do, he must call back his girlfriend. He must get back with her. Cruz says, "Yadiel, you better not, alright? You better hold on for me, alright?" Yadiel says, "Just give me 1 minute and I'm done, man." Cruz says, "Alright, I'll hurry. You better stall, alright?" Cruz hurries through his, seeing that this obstacle course is a bit hard. He decides he'll just start climbing as he can see that the safety rails that are supporting this are what he can climb onto. He climbs onto that. It's a faster path than doing the rest of the obstacles. Cruz then runs into Yadiel's room, stopping him before he could finish what he was going to do. As he takes him off, it seems that he was right on time, but still pretty gay of a scene. Cruz then sits there, tries to help Yadiel out, make sure he doesn't do anything worse. As John walks into the room, Cruz asks, "John, how long have you been down?" John says, "Oh, I've been down for minutes, and that's pretty easy." Cruz says, "Then why didn't you just..." "Okay, you should have helped him." John says, "Yeah, but I didn't feel like it." Cruz looks aside with frustration. They walk into Ian's room, knowing that Luis will be good enough on his own, seeing if they can help out Ian. These 3 virgins helping out another virgin get a girlfriend back. Hopefully this time Ian can get a girlfriend for longer than a month. He could pass his personal goal. Ian finishes with his call on the phone, getting back with his girlfriend. He has a success. They go to the next room to help out Luis. But the thing is, Luis has been done. He's just been playing the game over and over again, trying to get a higher score each time. So it seems they can go to the next room. The speaker says this is an imposter round. One of you has a knife. The one with the knife must stab 2 of the contestants. In doing so, you will pass the round. Only 2 stabs must be had. 1 per 1 out of 2 contestants must stab 2 contestants. All 5 of them check their pockets. As each of them finds a knife, they start stabbing. John, Ian, and Yadiel all teaming on Cruz. Cruz asks Luis for help, but Luis just stands there. After a while, they all get 2 stabs on each other. Seems they all are alright. The speaker says, "You idiots! Those are not knives. Those are props. Don't you see it's got a small little slit to pump out blood? And it squeezes back each time you're stabbing someone?" As the speaker has their attention, the black guy stabs them in the back, only John and Yadiel, and says, "You little idiots, you little son of a little," points to Cruz, "beaner idiots, weak." They keep making fun of those 2. Then after a while, those 2 grab their aid from the aid kit, helping out their stab wounds till they enter the next room. They now enter the maze, where they are met by ghoul-like creatures. These ghoul-like creatures are put into a pit. They must find out whether they are friendly or not, or at least that's what they suspect. So John, Yadiel, and Ian push Cruz into a pit of these ghoul-like creatures. In the pit, these ghoul-like creatures start biting Cruz's leg. John says the cheesy line, "Guess they're not friendly." Cruz yells, "You don't say." Cruz grabs a sword off one of the knights that he sees nearby, as that suit of armor can now give him the sword to slice off most of these ghouls. Once they finish stabbing most of these ghouls, they go on to the next spot of this maze. They find a rainbow tent. They enter the rainbow tent, and Cruz says, "Oh look, gay clowns." John and Ian say simultaneously, "Yo dude, that's homophobic. Like, come on bro." Cruz says, "It's not homophobic, and one of them has a shirt that says I love men, one of them has a shirt that says I love dick, one of them has a hand miming jacking off to you, and the other one, where's his pants, dude?" Cruz says, "Let's just kill these killer clowns, alright?" John says, "Okay, fine." The group, together, beat up these clowns. Then they go to the next part of the maze, the final part that can give them the prize. They must finish this last part. In this last part, before they enter, Cruz asks, "What is the last thing we must do? What do you think the last monster there is. Could be. Ian says, scream. Adele says, mummies. John says, your mom. Luis says, Frankenstein. Cruz says, well, Frankenstein and mummies are basically just zombies. And there's no way you're going to get Scream if the killer from Scream is Ghostface, alright? We can't license that, alright? Ian says, oh, right. So it's your mom. Cruz says, no, that's never that's not an answer. How would that be an answer? Cruz then says, the obvious answer can only be ghosts, right? John says, alright. They enter this spot. All this is just a walkway. Many things on this walkway: swords, knives, vases, and a wheelbarrow, for some reason. They start walking to the end of this walkway, things being thrown at them. It seems these ghosts are trying to stab them, kill them. John stands still, noticing these ghosts are missing each time. John says, yo, these ghosts, they got bad aim. The second after he says that, a vase flies right across the room, hits him on the back of the head, and now he falls unconscious. Cruz picks up the wheelbarrow he finds, putting John inside of it, wheelbarrowing him to the end of the room to get to the prize room. As he does, a sword slashes, spinning around, stabbing his leg, the one who was bitten, slicing it off. As they enter the prize room, Cruz grabs an aid kit, patching up his leg, now hopping on one leg with only one hand. The friends threw away the wheelbarrow, so now Cruz must hop to get to the rest of the friends. The friends grab the money, grab their grand prize, and leave the building. Yadel says, did you have fun, Cruz? Cruz says, I hate you, you beaner, you idiotic, irresponsible, unacknowledgeable idea of a beaner, you... Before Cruz can continue, Yadel interrupts him and says, oh, I know you love me, my son. As the sun sets, the black guy says, so you guys used the word about 58 times now. Cruz says, geez. Luis says, well, I guess that means you guys love that word, don't you? The film ends. In the after-credits scene, John asks, so why is that guy still here? Cruz says, well, he's here because it's funny watching you guys use him to say the N-word, you know? It's just funny, you know, you two messing with each other each time. Also, he's supposed to be here the whole movie. John says, okay, alright. Cruz then asks, so if we had all this money, we got our prize, why are we here? Huh? I said we should go to a restaurant, not fast food. We had a conversation about this. Why are we here? We gotta go to a restaurant, not this. The group then advertises the restaurant in the last part of this film, in the end credit scene, hopefully teasing a legacy sequel further on to the future. Today's free advertisement goes to Someone to Spend Time With by Los Retros. This is a bit of an older song if you think 4 years is a bit old in time, but I get that stuck in my head every time I hear it. It's a great song. I do think you should listen to it. Alright, now, I probably might add more to that movie, but for now that's all this. I'm gonna have to pay to get some office building for those rooms, and some farmer for a corn maze or something, but hopefully the advertisement will help. I can get people to pay to advertise, or to be advertised in a movie. That's how I will pay it off. As I said, that's a horrible idea. Thank you for watching. Since it never ends, let the show begin.